How in the early 1900s did they move a pump and compressor with parts that totaled over 250 tons in all, 3 different times from the Utica depot to the Homer natural gas pumping station? Well, here's the story. The Ohio Fuel Supply Company built a pumping station in Homer, Ohio that would supply natural gas to northern cities from Gambier to Ashland County. The gas flowed through Howard, Jellaway, and Hayesville to Ashland. They laid pipes 16 inches round by 80 foot long that covered 24 miles in length as they finished the pumping station. To push the gas to Ashland County, they needed a series of very large compressor-driven pumps delivered while they built the pumping station in 1903. Snow Compressor of Buffalo, New York manufactured the pumps, compressors, and castings, then shipped them all by rail to Utica, Ohio. A group of Teamsters were charged with delivering the compressors from the Utica depot to the Homer pumping station. After being unloaded at the railroad depot, it took 36 to 64 varying horse teams pulling the compressor and its parts starting down Church Street to Main Street in Utica. They proceeded through Utica as you see them on Main Street looking north, then down the river where they built a road because they could not take the compressor through the covered bridge on Homer Road, now the Route 62 West Bridge. They cut a road through the dike in the river north of the bridge to get to Homer Road west of the covered bridge to continue their journey. In 1903, 3 large engines were taken to the Homer pumping station, weighing in at 250 tons total. In 1907, 3 more were taken to Homer the same way, and in 1910, 2 more made the journey. In 1903, they built a sturdy bridge from 4-foot planks fastened together, which sank to the bottom once the weight of the compressor was on top. It worked out, but sturdier river roads were built in later transports. Main Street in Utica had been paved by 1910, so they used 36 horses to transport the equipment from the depot down the alley between Main and Central shown here. After navigating the Licking River in 1903, the Teamsters prepared for the next part of the journey. Each compressor came in many parts. It resulted in a very heavy load as the casting weighed 36 tons. One half of the flywheel weighed 9 tons, and the main shaft weighed 13 tons, along with other heavy parts, totaling between 80 and 85 tons for each pump. The 4-day trip over Homer Road had many challenges, including uneven parts of the road and the softer parts of the road. The most difficult part of the trip was taking the loads downhill. To accomplish the downhill maneuver, they placed 2 large poles at the top of the hill. They then wrapped the cable around the compressors and slowly released the cable to control the load from becoming a runaway. The Teamsters had to frequently stop and rest the horses as they pulled the load along Homer Road. Overnight stays were necessary between Utica and Homer. As the Teamsters prepared for the evening, you can see the lanterns on the side of the casting. Uphill was also a challenge. In this picture, you can barely see the man to the left standing on top of the casting. He engineered the move, shouting out orders from atop his perch. The horses soon learned to recognize his commands. Once the journey was completed, the Teamsters had to take the teams back to Utica from whence they came. Finally, the pumps were installed and were in working order inside the Homer pumping station. But by 1938, several of the pumps were moved to other stations in Ashland and Sugar Grove. And that's how they quite remarkably did it in the old days.